Good afternoon, friends. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I have been a part of the church for longer than I can ever remember. I'm now just saying that just a little week shy of the church equaling about 45 years of my life. In those nearly 45 years, I cannot even begin to recall how many times I've heard our scripture read and some expository around the fact that if I were to ever wander off, not to fear, because my Jesus, my good shepherd, will leave those other 99 sanctified and justified sheep to come and seek me out. For a little white cisgendered boy, that was a comforting thought. But I could never imagine wandering away from the safety of a sanctified sheep pasture. Over the course of these nearly 45 years, I have stepped out of the pasture a couple of times, but I never did wander or stray too far. But as I was reading this passage recently and thinking about the reason that we gather here in this space today, on this day, to remember our transgender siblings gone too soon from this world because of anti-transgender violence, I began to think or to see this passage maybe just a little bit differently. In the spring of 2018, my oldest child was approaching the end of their senior year of high school. For their traditional senior skip day, they had a request. And it was to skip school and to go see a movie with mom and dad. I mean, like what dad wouldn't think it was cool that their 18-year-old kid wanted to go hang out with them for an afternoon? So we did that, and we were on the way back from the movie, driving down some back country roads, when I heard some crying in the back seat. And I looked in the rearview mirror, and I could see my child with tears on their face. My wife asked, what was wrong? And within a few moments, we heard these words: Mom, Dad, I love you. And I don't want you to be mad at me, but I need you to know that I'm transgender. I'm not who people have seen me to be. I'm someone different inside, and I want to live on the outside as who I am. Please don't hate me. After a few more moments of silence, I remember saying, I love you for you. I can't, I don't, and I won't hate you. And I'm sorry that you might have feared that I could. I want you to know I just want to know, how long have you been wrestling with this and holding this inside? How long? And in a still quiet voice, I heard, at least 6 years. I've been trying so hard to be who everyone wanted me to be, but I'm not. Then I sheepishly asked, why haven't you told us? To which the reply was, because, Dad, you're a pastor. And although I think you love me, I wasn't sure how you would respond. And I was afraid you'd lose your job. Unsure of my response, because their dad was a representative of the church in which they had grown up. Because they were afraid the church might reject one that they love in the same way they feared that they were going to be rejected. Feared for me if I stood up and stood alongside this life of sacred worth. So I'll be honest, when the planning team asked me for a scripture today, I struggled. I struggled because, as you know, people of the Bible who wrote and compiled the text had no framework of the struggle in which we are here to ponder on this afternoon. You can tell I usually preach on a Sunday morning. They had no framework for the struggle of transgendered persons. Sure, they wrote of many who were outcast and marginalized, but we can so much more easily see and name the poor, the widow, the orphan, the immigrant. I struggled with finding a text that might capture the angst and wrestling in my own heart, my soul, and in my mind around the travesty and the tragedy perpetrated upon our transgender siblings. And then I landed here. One of these two stories of the lost sheep, the one and the 99, a story I've heard so many times in my white, cisgender, heteronormal, complementarian communities of faith. Oh, don't worry, little cisgender white boy. If you ever wander from Jesus, Jesus will come and bring you back. The 99 and the flock, they will welcome you with open arms. So I took this passage and I did a little bit about what our amazing children's team at Hilliard United Methodist Church does with their kids every Sunday morning, and that's to ask some wondering questions about the story, to wonder and to wrestle with what the text is saying to me as I hear it and I read it. So I hear that we have the one who wandered away from the fold, leaving the 99 others, and the shepherd leaving the 99 to go and find the wandering stray. And then I wonder, what if the one didn't wander? What if the 99 or even 51 of the other sheep convinced the other 50% that for whatever reason the one didn't fit in? They didn't belong. And they ran them out of the pen, out into the wilderness. My friend, what if the sheep didn't wander off, but the 99 told them or made them feel as if they were not welcome? What if the one didn't wander? What if the 99 made the one feel less than? Made the one feel unseen? Made the one feel uncomfortable? Made the one feel discouraged? Made the one feel ugly? Made the one feel unloved? Made the one feel unlovable? Made the one feel afraid? Made the one leave the fold? Drove the one out of community? Drove the one out of safety? Drove the one out, shut the door, and didn't even have the common courtesy to say good luck? Unless those who say, well, I ain't in the church, so I'm absolved. Well, as much as our culture likes to think they're independent from the influence of the church, the culture too has bought into this message of the church, into the world. They've carried it out, and they say that those who don't play by the rules of the established imperialistic systems of gender norms are somehow less than and unworthy. None of us are absolved. None of us are innocent bystanders with no responsibility or culpability. So we, and I say we as a pastor in the Christian tradition, we all have a responsibility to take up a mantle of allyship, to follow the lead of our shepherd, the one whom we call Jesus. We must be allies from the pulpit. We must reclaim the church as a place that leads the community out into the public square to proclaim that trans lives matters, and we will not be silent, and we will not put career over call. We must go out and find the one who has been pushed out and say, no more. Never again. Today, on this occasion, our Transgender Day of Remembrance, we grieve the lost stories and the experiences and giftedness of those that we will name this day. Siblings pushed out of the church, pushed out of our communities, and into the vulnerable spaces in which their lives were stolen through anti-transgender violence. Although my child, my son, still has a complicated relationship with the church, I'm proud to stand here and say that my child no longer doubts where I stand as their ally. In the church, from the pulpit, in the community, in the halls of City Hall, I have and will be a voice, an advocate for him and for all my transgender siblings in my church and in my community. From the pulpit to the City Hall and to every other place I can find, until the senseless loss of these dear ones of God's creation stops. I say no more.